Hey y'all, thank you for checking in to Slick Tal-Keila. Yeah, we about to dig into this cannabis cheesecake recipe. Blueberry, I said. Cannabis infused blueberry cannabis cheesecake pudding recipe. Yes, y'all. So, while we or zone into this recipe, I wanted to sit here and talk to you guys about generational curses because as I started zoning into the ingredients and everything, I started thinking like there is some connection to the ingredients versus the generational curses, and then looking at, well, how do we break the cycle? Because I know I'm not alone. I know it's a few of y'all out here that's like, how in the hell do we break these curses? So let's take a deep dive into this sweet recipe, because just like this recipe is gonna bring you joy, what we gonna do on our deep dive tonight is just look at how the recipe serves as a metaphor for breaking the generational curses. We gonna highlight the negative patterns, or look at some of those ingredients and really highlight those and how we inherit the lessons that we kind of create from those lessons learned from our families. And what we gonna do is, for all of us that want to break the generational curse cycle, how we can take the bad and create something even sweeter, right? So let's get into it, y'all. We got the recipe itself, which I was even looking at it like, damn, this gotta be the ingredients of life, especially as I started sorting through the recipe. And before I get started, I got it up on the screen for y'all that want to know the recipe. You got the ingredients over here, and if you check the description, you'll find a link, and it'll give you the free recipe with all the information as to how we got to that wonderful blueberry cannabis cheesecake pudding. So let's dive in, y'all. So we got 4 key ingredients of this recipe, right? And those I'm gonna sit here and tell y'all, I'm looking at it as it's the ingredients of life, right? Because look at the cheesecake, for instance. The cheesecake is just the basis or the foundation to the pudding, right? So what you think that represents? That's gonna represent your family legacy. For me, my family legacy is my mom. Like, she's the backbone, she's the glue to everything. Like, she holds us all together. And when I look at this recipe and look at the ingredients, I say, damn, well, the cheesecake is actually the foundation of the pudding, right? So that's exactly what shapes the whole dessert, right? And the same thing with us. Like, our family legacy is actually shapes who we are. Then I moved on to the next ingredients, and I'm like, dang, yeah. So sugar symbolizes the sweetness of the positive traits passed down to us, right? So all the good stuff that we get passed down to us. But the only problem with sugar, and even in this recipe, if we mix too much of it, or if it's improper, it can lead to bitterness. So that's like a lot of our family members, right? So those patterns we get, those negative patterns that we inherit from our family backgrounds, it kind of overshadows our lives over time, right? So you don't just get it just from when you were a child. You bring that stuff forward over your life. So when I think about too much sugar when it comes to the recipe, it's like, too much sugar, that's going to be just nasty, right? We got to do something. To balance things out. It can't be too much sugar. So then I started thinking about the milk, right? So the milk, we all need nurture and support. That's exactly what the milk is. The milk is essential for blending the ingredients, but not only is it essential, and it resembles nurturing and support when it comes to the family aspect of things. That's the love and guidance we receive from our family. So that's that milk. But a lot of us sometimes don't get all that love or guidance. And we all know what happens when we don't get the proper love or guidance. Our lives going down the path into adulthood turns into utter chaos, right? So we definitely see where, especially looking at this in the aspect of the recipe, it's like I could definitely see now how this would be a recipe for disaster. Just think about the cheesecake pudding, for instance. It's like, damn, if you don't put no milk with that, it's gonna be all lumpy and clumpy and just not right? So we gotta get something to smooth it out. So that's the same theory when we start thinking about generational curses and how to break the cycle and where exactly did the breakdown come from. Same thing with the graham cracker crust. I was over here like, damn, we do need graham cracker crust. There are gonna be layers in this recipe that I'm making for this blueberry infused cheesecake pudding. But that's when I started thinking too, that's kind of like, the coping mechanisms we develop to shield ourselves from pain, especially the pain that we endure from growing up, right? So what? You can't tell me that this recipe, and when we start cooking more on this channel and kind of breaking down, family issues and just life issues, how a lot of these things closely relate to the foods that we eat and the things that we cook. That gives you a way to kind of give you more insight. And I don't know about you, but for me, that gives me time. When I'm cooking, I'm all in my head. I don't know where you find your space to kind of, zone out and think about things, but that be me. I'm in the kitchen, I'm slicing, I'm dicing, I'm in the zone. I'm in my zone. That's just like when I was doing this recipe. I was in my zone. And then it hit me. I'm like, man, there's so many different things that's going on in my family that I really, really, really am starting to recognize that I want to break the cycle, because we can always do things better. It's the same thing with this recipe. It's like, I know we got the foundation there because we got the cream cheese. My mother's there. She's my family legacy. But what can I do? I don't want to change my family altogether, but what can I do to, break the cycle and just make things that much better for the future generation? Same theory with this recipe, right? So just something to get you guys thinking like, wow, you're right, Love to hear your feedback in terms of what you do when you're sitting there evaluating your family, where the breakdowns are. Is it at the cream cheese? Did it happen when it was too much sweetness with the sugar? Were you lacking any milk? Where did all these protective layers over the path, the cycle of life, where did that stem from, right? So definitely want to hear from you guys and figure out what you did, or how did you really dig deep to look at generational curses within your own family, and where you can start, or who you can even start within the family. Is it a great grandson or a niece or a nephew? Your own children, for instance, where you can start to kind of break those patterns, because that's exactly what we do when we start evaluating things, right? We start evaluating our lives, just like when we're mixing our ingredients. We kind of mix our experiences together. We mix the ingredients for the cannabis infused cheesecake pudding. We're mixing those things together, and there's some things that are good and there's a lot of things that are bad, but at the end everything kind of works itself out, and it turns out to be just that great tasting pudding. So again, I'm looking at, well, out of these certain behaviors in our lives, like anger or addiction, often get passed down. Where was that breakdown? First things first, everybody. Like, everything is first. Like they say, you can eat an elephant. You definitely can. And how you tackle that elephant is one piece at a time. Same thing with generational curses. That's the elephant in the room, right? So we need to figure out one piece at a time. How do we recognize these patterns? How do we acknowledge them? And then as we mix everything up and start, changing up the recipes, or, in terms of the pudding, or changing up how we raise our children, how do we create a change, right? That can go by adding new ingredients, whether they're more positive experiences. Like for me, the whole thing with my family was a lot of yelling in the house. Anytime something went wrong, oh hell no, everybody screaming on 1,000. You can't hear shit. I'm telling you, you can't hear shit, let alone think, right? So I had to think about that. Like, I have a grandson, and I'm like, how is he gonna get the message that what I'm really trying to teach him, is it really gonna be understood as the message, and not make him feel like he's got a fear to speak to me or come to me when something's wrong. And I too don't want to be yelling at him, and then next thing I know, I'm giving him a complex. He can't even talk to me because he's thinking, God damn, Tita, right? So just trying to figure out, like, how does everybody else in the world go about really recognizing what the issues are, and how do they go about breaking that cycle? Because it's definitely achievable. And that's one thing I've learned in life. Like, we're not stuck being one way. It's just a matter of how we go about making change. And the same thing with this recipe. I could have came on here and started mixing up something my mother made for 1,000 years. But what I did do is I took a new recipe. I don't make blueberry cream cheesecake pudding. But I said, oh, I do cannabis infused at that. And then I started looking at it like, how can I kind of take what I like, but at the same time look at recognizing the things that really need to make some change and make some differences, for the future. And this is one of the ways that I found. So definitely, y'all, please, definitely like, subscribe, comment, share, and go to that description, y'all, because the recipe is in the link. As soon as you subscribe, you get the free recipe with all the details, and y'all all will be at that table talking about this shit go down. But see y'all soon. Keep watching, because I'm definitely up on this game. Let's make a meal, let's make a dessert, let's make a change, one recipe at a time. Slick Tal-Keila. See y'all.